My DIY home recording studio build is really coming along. The live room looks and sounds awesome. This week, it's time to work on the control room. Let's get into it. The control room started out as a pretty dubious old carport, and as you can see, the existing concrete was in pretty bad shape. So me and my 83-year-old dad broke it all up with sledgehammers and took it all out of there. We dug out the area for the new pad, and then we took the old concrete, broke it up even more, and then put it down as a stable sub-base for the new concrete to sit on top of. With the help of my big sister and my next door neighbor, we got the pad poured out. So the laser level has something to sit on. The cool thing is it goes straight up to the ceiling, and we can see where we need to put our top plate. The top plates were beveled to match the pitch of the roof. I framed out these cute slider windows in the control room for some natural light and some fresh air if I needed it. I sealed all the framing with acoustic sealant, and then I sheathed the structure with OSB. I got the windows off the shelf at the box store for pretty cheap, and then I spray painted the outside black. Eventually this will be board and batten siding, but right now it's just board. I trimmed the windows with some cedar picture frames. And then it was back inside. We built a double wall for the control room window, and then started working on the floor. This is just an extra vapor control layer to keep any dampness in the concrete out of the inside of the building. We leveled the subfloor out with 2x4 joists, and we ran conduit underneath the floor for cable runs. Dad used a rip cut jig to cut this salvaged foam into strips to go between the joists. This was primarily for thermal insulation, but floating floors are often used in recording studios, so I don't think it hurt anything to have that kind of setup. Finally, we could lay down a subfloor. Then I came to the unfortunate realization that as you walked into the control room, you would have this huge beam right in your face. So I made the painful decision to move the beam and tuck it further into the ceiling. We supported the roof with a temporary wall, and we took the beam down. I beveled the edge of the beam so it would tuck up into the ceiling as far as possible. It's so funny watching this condensed into a video because this was pure hell and took several days. I'm so glad it's over. With the beam fixed, we could start covering the walls and ceiling with 3/4 inch plywood. Again, all the seams were sealed with acoustic sealant. It was time to insulate with mineral wool. You've already seen me put in enough insulation, so I won't show you the entire process here. We used a smart vapor retarder on the exterior walls and finished covering them with 3/4 inch plywood. Once all the seams of the plywood were sealed with acoustic sealant, it was time to cover that with 5/8 drywall, staggering all the seams. After that layer of drywall was hung and all the seams were sealed, we started building interior walls that would be floor-to-ceiling acoustic treatment. In the corners would be these slot resonators that act as broadband bass absorbers. Here I'm mocking up a template for fitment in this corner. The template was laid onto the slot panel, and then I could cut it out into the same shape. We'll get back to these in a minute. Next thing I was working on was a ventilation chase that would run along this beam. I think this stuff is called Pookie, which I think is a pretty cool name for it. I ran mostly flex ducts because while less efficient, they are nice and quiet, and that's a lot more important in a recording studio. This whole soffit was boxed in with plywood and then covered in drywall, just like the walls and ceiling. Luckily, I only had to finish drywall on the back wall and ceiling. This big old fan came in handy to help the mud dry. Sanding, of course, the worst part of all. And then I could finally throw on some paint. I got a great deal on some of this Owens Corning brand mineral wool. This wall was opposite the door, so I wanted to make it a hard surface, but I used this perforated pegboard so it could still have some base absorbing qualities. At this point, we put the casing together that would hold the tempered glass window. This was a lot of fun getting in. I started the stretch fabric on this wall because I needed to put the mini split in before it got cold out. I started with a backing layer of fabric to sort of smooth out any of the framing that might show through the final layer. And then I stretched a layer of canvas over the top of that. Now the head unit for the mini split could go in. And the line set could be run through the walls. On the outside, the lines needed to be cut and flared to the right length. And then they were attached to the outside unit with a little bit of this thread sealant. Before you charge the lines, they need to be vacuumed out with a pump. And then, like magic, you have heat and air conditioning. These units work really well in here, probably because the studio is so well insulated. So for the corner resonators, I had moved to 8-inch thick mineral wool. So I needed to redo these little backing plates so the bats could sit into the wall a little deeper. I had done some testing, and probably not surprisingly, this thicker mineral wool provided a flatter response for the low end in the room. I added a few more of these blocking panels into the walls just in case anyone were to lean against the wall, they wouldn't push right into the insulation. Again, I don't think there's any way to explain how painstaking this process is. It's really tricky to get everything pulled nice and flat, and just overall making sure the installation is clean. I was definitely lucky if I could get one wall done per day. This was satisfying, cutting the windows out, though. Alright, so back to finishing these slot resonators. I used some white stain because I wanted like a nice refined neutral look in the control room. And then covered that in a few coats of satin polyurethane. Okay, we could let it out on the... These were friction fit, and as you can see, pretty difficult to get where they need to go. But eventually they went in and they fit really nicely. Okay, so that's about where I'm going to leave you for now. I still have some trim. I have that little panel above the window to do. I have ceiling clouds and all kinds of lighting to figure out in here. But I needed to get set up so I could get back to work. So I'm sorry I can't give you a big satisfying reveal. You'll just have to subscribe and see how it all comes together next time. I'll see you then. Cheers.